In this video, I'm going to go through how to simplify algebraic fractions. This is something that does rely on you having a bit of understanding about how to do certain things with algebra beforehand. So there are some things I'm going to go through in here without much detail, like factorizing, so you need to make sure that you're able to do that before you go through this video. So here we have an example which would be a GCSE style question where we have a fraction which contains two quadratics, and we would have to simplify this fully in order to complete the question. Typically you could get about 3 marks for this question. 2 of those marks would come from the correct factorization, because as they are quadratics we would want to look to factorize both the numerator and denominator and see what we have after we do that. Now, I'm assuming that you can do this, and if you spend some time looking at how to do this for these types of quadratics, you should end up with a fraction like this, where you'd have 2 sets of brackets in the numerator and denominator, and what you would be looking to notice is that you have got some brackets which contain the same terms, and so if we look here, these ones on the right, we do have x minus 2 in both of those brackets. Now, what will happen is because those two terms are the same, they are going to cancel out. They're going to simplify in this fraction to leave us just with x add 3 over x minus 5. And this is the general process you would want to go through. Factorize first where you can, and then look to cancel out what remains. Now, not every question looks the same, and so whilst this is one type, there are other types. So the next one I'm going to look at is slightly more difficult. So in this problem what we've got is the same sort of thing, but the numerator is a different type of quadratic that would be factorized, where we have 2x squared instead of just x squared on its own. And again, I'm going to assume that you know how to do that and that you're able to factorize that type of quadratic. If you do that, and do that to the numerator and denominator again, you will end up again with 2 sets of brackets, and you'll be able to find something that will cancel out. In this case, it is going to be these x plus 1 brackets at the end. And so once you cancel those out, you are then left with a fraction which is the simplified form. There's nothing else you could do here. You will have noticed in the last 2 examples I have removed the brackets at the end. They're no longer needed because nothing is multiplying the remaining terms. So they're not actually going to be important, and we can make sure we do it. It's just I see a number of people who leave them in and there's no need for them anymore. This final example I'm going to go through looks a bit different. You'll notice that I've not got 2 quadratics because not every fraction problem with algebra is going to look like that. In this case, with p squared minus 9 at the top, we're missing a term, and in the denominator we've actually not got a quadratic at all, and we've got a much simpler linear expression to factorize. But again, the process is to factorize. And what you may or may not have noticed is about the numerator, that p squared minus 9 is the difference of 2 squares. And what that means is that when we do factorize it, we will end up with p plus 3 and p minus 3 in brackets. Now again, we will have 2 sets of brackets that will actually cancel out. And if we do that, we will end up with this simplified fraction. Now, every kind of question to do with simplifying algebraic fractions will have factorizing in part of it. So you do want to make sure that you're doing that as part of your working out, and it should lead to something which will cancel at the end. It won't always be a bracket that will cancel out at the end. Sometimes it might be the numbers or a letter, but in the slightly more complicated examples, it will be a bracket like this. Hopefully this video has been useful, and you'll be able to go through and simplify algebraic fractions using the ideas that I've gone through. Thank you.